Hands
His angle there,
Nathan,
nice,
big
nice
left
kick.
Here comes Jordan
come back with those hands again.
Hey yo, it's your boy Shane here. Before we start today's episode, we have a new sponsor on board. So getting behind the Combat Chat podcast now is Manscaped, who are the best in the world for men's below the waist grooming. Their products are precision engineered tools for your family jewels. Manscaped's performance package, the ultimate men's hygiene bundle, is here. Join over 4 million men worldwide who trust Manscaped with this exclusive offer for you. 20% off and free shipping worldwide with the code COMBATCHAT, all one word. If my maths correct, that's about 8 million balls. Okay, fellas, let's be honest. There's always that story of us trying to trim the hedges, mow the lawn when in the younger days, but even probably now, because we don't want anything scraggly down here. We don't want our budgie smugglers to look like they're tarantula smugglers. Okay, we've got to keep it fresh. Okay, and this is where the lawnmower 4.0 comes in place, and I've used it myself. And it's great. I got nothing but good things to say about it, actually. So, I'm going to kind of keep everything pristine from now on because Manscaped's on board. And it doesn't stop there. You also got the Weed Whacker, which is good for the nose hairs, the ears hairs. You also have the ball deodorant, the ball toner. So after you smooth it and kind of moisturize some of them, they're going to be smooth as eggs. Who doesn't want to touch them after that? For real. So in saying that, it's time to take care of yourself. Go to manscaped.com and get 20% off and free shipping with the code COMBATCHAT, all one word. So remember, to get 20% off, free worldwide shipping, put in Combat Chat at manscaped.com. And remember, unlock your confidence and always use the right tools with the job with Manscaped.
Hello, welcome back to Combat Chat podcast. Been 2 weeks since I've spoken to you, so I'm sure you missed me, and I am hosting alone today because I have some catching up to do. Thank you, Ibrahim, for filling in for me last week and coming and joining Shane in the studio. That was very cool. We don't have that many guests in person anymore, so in particular in my absence, it was nice to see Shane not have to sit at the desk alone. So he gets the week off this week. I'll man the ship today. Gloriously sunny weekend here in Sydney, so hope everyone's getting out and enjoying the weather wherever you are. What have I been up to for the update? Last week was Muay Thai Australia National Championships. I've not been up to one of those for a couple of years. Actually, there hasn't been one for a couple of years, but that's probably why I haven't been up. But good. Feel like I haven't been at nationals for a good few years now. I just had one fighter on from Sisaton, Kayla, who had a really good fight, actually. Enjoyed her fight against Sunrise Martial Arts from Perth, I think, was who she fought. Good 3 rounds, a very confusing decision, as there was a few on the day, so we didn't get the W there. But I really like Muay Thai Australia Nationals. I think there's something really cool about everyone from Australia kind of coming together. All the trainers are in one place, all the fighters are there and just really focused on fighting. There's no bells and whistles, no music. It's just show up. Everyone's in this giant kind of, not even warm-up room, just one side of the basketball court is everyone warming up, and one side's 2 rings. Figure out where you're at in the draw, and there's no messing around with matchmaking. You fight who you fight. You jump in, you have a go, you come out, and some people got to fight 2-3 times in the weekend, which for me, for amateurs, is the best case scenario. If you can go away for a weekend and come back with a few fights, more experience. Jacob from PTJ got to do that. I had a big weekend of 3 really good fights, so that's a great experience. We only got the one, but that's cool. You show up and you get what you get. So great experience for Kayla and for all the fighters that were up there at Nationals, and really good just to have everyone from Australia coming together again. Saw Too Smooth Mark Peace, saw the Riddler, saw lots of Muay Thai celebs. So good to be just mingling. That's what I do, as you know, is I just show up at all the Muay Thai events to socialise. But we'll chat more about the whole Nationals thing when Shane and I are recording again, because there's a lot to talk about that. And I think at times some mixed opinions about where that whole kind of format sits for the development of amateurs. So that's an interesting one to get into. But for now, sitting on the other side of the line and the other side of the country, actually, we're going coast to coast today. Joining me for a chat is retired fighter, coach, and naval marine tech engineer. Might have got that wrong. Josh Day, how are you, sir?
Yeah, good, thank you. How you going, guys?
Do you want to correct me on your job title? I think I got it wrong.
Yeah, so I'm in the Navy. I'm a marine technician, submariner.
Technician.
Yeah.
That's the one. So we'll get stuck into kind of what goes into that line of work because I'm pretty keen to hear about it. But just kicking off whenever we have a new guest, for those that don't know you, haven't maybe followed your career, tell us about kind of your background, how you found your way to Thai boxing, and just give us a story so far.
Yeah, okay. Well, I was actually a hockey player. I used to play like state league hockey in New South Wales. I had an ankle reconstruction at about 16. On my rehab back, I actually started kickboxing just to try and, I don't know, speed up recovery, find my feet a little bit. From there, I didn't really fight. I went to like maybe 1 or 2. I joined the Navy, deployed in the Navy, got back into hockey and Muay Thai when I moved over to Perth. I found a gym over here, did the tourist thing, went to Thailand, Phuket, trained at Rawai Muay Thai. Came back and kind of wanted to make a change. I then went away for about a 9-month deployment, and I was sitting at about 102 kilos. So I had a daughter. She was maybe 2 at the time. So I just wanted to kind of change my life. So I thought I'd have one fight, just see what it was like, get that experience. So I cut down to 85 kilos, had 3 pullouts within maybe 4 months, finally got a fight at 80 kilos. And then from there, I stuck with it. I stopped drinking. I just trained and, yeah, just found a passion for the sport and a love for the art of Muay Thai.
A bit of a transformation story then for yourself in Muay Thai.
Yeah, so I was playing hockey. I was playing quite a high grade, and I just couldn't, like, I was running fit, but I wasn't fit.
Mm-hmm.
After training, I'd have 8 to 10 beers. I was still in like that Navy drinking culture, so I could just never drop. I was never really fit, but fit enough to play and good enough to play.
Knew how to work hard, but not some lifestyle factors getting a little bit neglected.
Yeah, well, I didn't. Yeah. I just lived the lifestyle, whatever it was, kind of thing, Yeah,
because you mentioned you kind of trimmed down a bit of weight. I remember from your fight career, I've seen you with your shirt off. You are absolutely shred to the gills.
Yeah, well, one of the kick in the faces was I got back. I was 102 kilos, and all the guys were just feeding me because my missus, while I was away with our daughter, she'd train at night. She'd train at like 4 a.m. in the morning, and she was shredded like she was a beast. All the dudes were feeding me that I've got this super fit girlfriend. I got this massive keg on me. And I'm super competitive too. So
you weren't keeping up, eh?
Nah, she was destroying me.
Well, that's a motivator.
But yeah, so because I am super competitive, so I got into parkrun with her. So she'd do parkrun and I'd push the pram. And then I just got competitive. So then I was competing against all the other dudes with prams. I was competing against the other runners. So then I'm getting down into like the 4-minute 30, 4-minute 20 Ks.
With the pram?
Yeah, my fastest time's with the pram, to be honest.
Yeah. Can't say I have any experience.
Oh, man, I can't beat that time now.
Well, you mentioned you were sort of got serious about Muay Thai in Perth, but you were originally in New South Wales. Am I right in saying you were down south, like kind of Ulladulla way?
In Nowra. Yeah, so Southern Martial Arts in Nowra is where I first started kickboxing.
Yeah, with Richard?
Yes.
Yeah, because I recall, I remember that because Richard started putting on shows again just before lockdowns, and I remember you getting brought over to compete on one, so I thought you must have had a bit of a following down that way.
Yeah, so he brought me back. So that's actually my hometown. So I had all my family come, which was pretty cool. So he brought back, I think, 3 pro fighters to have their debuts back where it kind of all started. So me, Brad Trainer, and there was another chick that was meant to come, but her fighter pulled out.
Yeah. And of course, one show that got cancelled because of lockdowns was supposed to get brought over there again to fight me.
Yeah. So Richard called me and asked if I wanted to fight you. He's going to put us up for the WMC Australian title. So I was all keen for it. It was going to be my retirement fight. So that 2020 was my retirement year. So I'd just gone to the Australian Championship. So I won at the Australian Championships. I went straight to Thailand. I did about 6 weeks in Thailand. I had maybe 2 fights booked in Perth, and then I was coming over to finish off the year fighting you, and that was the end of my career. It was going to be.
Yeah, of course, that didn't get to be, and there was a whole lot of nothing from most of that year.
Yeah, well, to be honest, like, I'm from WA, so we had a lot easier than everyone else, really. Like, I think we only went into lockdown maybe once for like 2 weeks, and that was the extent of our experience of it, really.
Yeah, and like we've spoken about a few times over the course of the Dark Times on the show, that WA were kind of able to reopen their Muay Thai scene earlier than most, and there's so much talent in WA that there was like a 6 to 8 month period where there was only WA versus WA fights, but there was just enough talent to sustain it, which was lucky as well. And New South Wales wouldn't have been able to have made that many shows with just local guys, especially at a professional level.
It was a lot of dudes too that you haven't seen fight in a long time. Like, they fought early on in their careers.
Yeah.
Hadn't really fought each other again in a while. And like, top level, like 66.5 kilo kind of dudes there.
Yeah, that was because I remember being in New South Wales lockdown, like really lockdown, and we'd be watching the live streams. Of the Perth shows, and there were some great ones.
Yeah, some good matchups.
Yeah, so I'm really keen to understand. Tell me about your naval experience. Kind of what was, the deployments like? How long were you typically away for, and what did a day in the life look like for that?
Yeah, okay. So I'm up to about 12 years in October. I've been in now. So I'm a petty officer, so a senior sailor now. So deployments range every year, and in the art of what our submarine does, like, we'll pick up extra missions. So anywhere from 3 to 9 months, and like, I've done it this long now, my missus is pretty used to it. I could go away for 3 months and that turned into 6, like overnight. So any deployment, like, we'll have like a running up, like a hard running up period, doing workups, like training the crew up for any scenario, really. So the issue with what we do is, in submarines, like, you're in a tin can underneath the water. So like, if we have toxic gases, stuff like that, you kind of have minutes to respond because your air you're breathing is sealed. Like, we're not out in the atmosphere. So like, as soon as that's toxic, like, people are on air, like, you've got minimum time to respond. Fire's burning up your O2, pushing out like carbon monoxide, carbon dioxide. Like, so we've got real minimum time to respond to these kind of things. So we've got to push the crew pretty hard, train them pretty hard, that in the event something happens, they can respond.
Yeah.
After that, we'll have about a week period, and then we'll deploy, like I was saying, anywhere from 3 to 6 to 9 months, being one of the larger ones I've done.
9 months away.
Yeah, so not 9 months straight at sea. It'll be 9 months on deployment. So I'm up pulling to Singapore, Manila.
Yeah.
Like, I've been pretty lucky in my career. I've done Hawaii twice. I've done Guam 3 times. India, I've done Singapore like 5 or 6. Penang, New Zealand. I did Tasmania for the first time this year. Yeah. So I've got to travel around the world for free, really. I've done Japan as well.
Yeah, and I guess I'm interested to know what kind of drove you towards that path.
So I got out of school. I wasn't built for a classroom. So like, I was a smart kid, but like, I wouldn't do homework. I couldn't keep still. I was like, I'd fidget. So I'd always get, bad marks on my report because just saying, just can't keep still, whatever. I was probably on the spectrum of ADHD, but just never diagnosed. So I got out. I became a boat builder after I finished year 10.
Mhm.
Finished my apprenticeship in that, and my dad was actually an aircraft technician for the Navy on helicopters. So he was out by
Yep.
this stage, but he said, just get in, travel the world. Submarines, you can make some pretty good coin. So get in that. So I decided to join. I got in pretty fast, and yeah, I've been in ever since.
And I guess, how did that sort of, be it the lifestyle, or like how did kind of that life compare to your expectations? Did you have any particular expectations?
Well, I was kind of raised as a Navy kid
Mm.
anyway, because my dad was in the Navy, so I already knew the lifestyle. I already knew like the family lifestyle, that sort of
Yeah.
thing already. The culture. Yes, there's been a big culture shift since my dad's time, but I already had an understanding before I got in, and it was what I enjoyed. I enjoy being around people. I enjoy
Hmm.
socializing, that sort of thing. And it's a big, especially submarines, it's a big family, like, especially in what I do. So marine technicians are known for being first to work, last to leave kind of thing. We're
Hmm.
maintaining the boat all the time. So we get a little tribalistic against everyone else, really, like, and we wear that as kind of a badge of honor. You know, that when shit hits the fans, we're the ones that keep everyone alive, really.
Yeah. Yeah. And so you did this. This was your career all the way through your other career, your in-ring career, right?
This was my career before my fight career even
Yeah.
started.
Yeah.
So I had this lifestyle. I did about 2 years of training, 2.5 years of training before I got the chance to go on a submarine. And I
Hmm.
had to qualify. So you have to do like a task journal. You have to do like time. And then you sit like a board. So the board goes anywhere from 2 to 6 hours where they
Hmm.
quiz you. And like they quiz you on the sort of things like in your house. Like, you know how at the front of your house you've got your isolation for your water. Well,
Yeah.
throughout our submarine, we've got all these crucial isolations, and every single crew member needs to know it off the top of their head, because if people start dying, pretty much you have to take on their role now. So
Yeah.
I think my board went for 2.5 hours. I got my dolphins in 2013, and then I started my career from then onwards. My marine technician career on submarines. So there's all different levels there as well. So I'm a MSM now, so I manage one of the watches. So I pretty much report to the captain, and I'm in charge of all like machinery and personnel,
Hmm.
safety, pretty much.
Yeah. And look, I can't imagine that your training environment was typical, trying to kind of manage that alongside your fights. What went into keeping everything afloat there?
Yeah. So once I started fighting and I got into it, with my rate, we're very short on people,
Hmm.
and have been for a long time. So I've always been posted to boats, and I've always been deploying pretty much my whole career. So it became kind of prison style fighting, because our corridors are like the width of a mat, like
Yeah.
meter kind of wide. So like when you walk around someone, you're pushing up against the bulkhead, sliding past them, kind of thing. So there was nowhere to skip unless we're on the surface. So I think I got some photos skipping through the Great Barrier Reef, like we're transiting on top of the surface because it was too shallow. But it was mainly like bulk calisthenics training and just hit style workouts in very small space. I'd take like one of your water filled bags to sea, but there wasn't enough room to hook. It was straight punches and knees. That was about the space I had.
And so, in terms of putting together some of those kind of like calisthenics and just workouts you could do in the space you had, who was programming those for you? Would you just put them together yourself? Is this
I
something you
pretty much
collaborated with your trainer on?
Nah, so all calisthenics was pretty much me to start with, and then when I
Hmm.
kind of hit the limits of my own knowledge, I got bigger into calisthenics. I started going to like a couple of calisthenics gyms, and then from there I got myself a program when I was going on quite a big deployment where
Hmm.
we didn't have much shore time. But yeah, so pretty much my calisthenics area is the ladder to escape the submarine. I take it off when we dive. We remove it so we can walk past, and I
Hmm.
just rig one of your like Kmart chin up bars that go over your door. I rigged one of them through the ladder, and then I got a chin-up bar for the next 6 months, pretty much.
Gotta make do with what you have, I suppose.
Yeah, so it was just enough room to kind of get muscle ups high enough into it, like front levers, that
Well,
sort
you're
of
a
thing.
pretty tall guy too. I can't imagine
Yeah,
that's
I'm
easy.
6
How
foot.
tall are you? Yeah,
6 foot, yeah.
6 foot. Yeah,
Which is
maybe it would have
ridiculous
been
when...
easier for a short man.
Yeah, well, it's ridiculous. Some of the dudes, like some of my, like the kids that work under me, I've got like a 6'8" dude, and he has to walk around like with his head like
That
this the whole
can't be
time we're at
easy.
sea. No, and he loves it, but
Well, it wouldn't be easy for him to be throwing around a calisthenics workout in the summer. I can imagine.
yeah, nah. But like we've got other things. So we've got a rower. So because I manage my own watch, I kind of just tailor things to work for me. So I made sure I didn't care about, the other 59 members of the crew. I made sure I kept the roll raft where I worked. So I always had it if I was going to do like a 20-minute row. Because of the nature of our thing as well, so we're submarines, so everything we do is kind of surveillance and quiet. You couldn't have things like, weights, that sort of thing. So we did have adjustable dumbbells, but again, it's another thing, like you got to be quiet because if you hit it on kind of like a bulkhead, well, that noise transits out through the water and then you can be detected. So small things like this, you don't really think about, but you have to kind of thing.
Yeah. And so you're training and coaching at Three Lions Gym now. Is that where you spent your entire fight career, or the Perth portion of it?
Yeah, so my whole fight career I've had under Dave McVicker. I
Good
did my
guy.
whole
Got to
fight
chat to
career.
him at Nationals last week too.
Yeah, good dude. Quiet, doesn't say too much.
Really nice guy.
But I had my whole fight career under him, but we were Beastmasters at the time, which was his affiliated gym in England. And then as I retired, he shifted to his own gym here, which was Three Lions.
Yeah. Yeah, and so what was it like kind of communicating with your trainer there? Like putting together, wanting to, because I know a lot of the time when you got someone who's kind of committing to that fight life, the conversation between them and their trainer is like, we've got to make sure we're making your career and your life work with your training so you can be fully committed and be putting in the hours. What's it like having that conversation? Look, I really want to do this, but I'm going to have to disappear underwater for months at a time. Like, was that difficult to put together, or what was that conversation like?
I think at the start it kind of was, but like I get very obsessed. So like at sea, I'd stay fight fit bar my legs, and by meaning of my legs, just kilometers in my legs. Give me 2 weeks back in the gym, and I'm pretty much back to fight fit, ready to go. So the whole time I'm at sea, I'm pretty much maintaining that. So Dave was pretty happy. Every time I went to sea, as soon as I was back, he's like, all right, here's the dates. What do you want? And then depending on work schedule, we pretty much like try and take everyone. So I think 1 year I had 10 fights booked and I got 7 due to pullouts. So when we had the time, we just smash. Yeah, when we had the time, we'd just smash in as many as we could.
And of course, you're 100% gone for months at a time. When you're not deployed, do you kind of get a bit like are you able to sort of fully focus on training, or like what's life like when you're back at home?
So because I've got kids as well, like the reason why I also retired is I just get so narrow focused on fighting. And then if it wasn't fighting, it was away with work. Like I just have those tunnel vision on. So, I'd get home, I'd hang out with my daughters for a bit. I'd eat dinner at a different time because I'd be cutting weight. I'd go to training for, 3 hours at night. I'd wake up early to go for a run. I'd go to work. I'd train at lunchtime at work, and I'd train after lunch at work. So that was just, I'd kind of fit my family in this little small window. And just every fight, like fight week, my missus would have enough every time. So it just, and of course too, like as I went up in the ranks in work, just bigger responsibilities, bigger time I'd have to put into work. So So it just got harder and harder to kind of juggle both.
Yeah.
And in my position now, I'm kind of the one responsible for if shit hits the fan. I'm the one that's making the big decisions of, left or right, that sort of thing, the in the moment kind of things, which is controlling a lot of people's lives. So I kind of
It's
just
not
had
something you can be half focused on.
no. So, and going back last year, we had maybe 3 scenarios that we're not going to come back from moments in the span of 2-3 weeks. So I just kind of had to kick into gear and make more a decision, like when I'm at sea, that's my family and those are the people I'm keeping safe when I'm at home. So I don't know, it was kind of a moment where I just had to choose, like, do I keep on fighting and I'd step back from work? But that's also what's keeping my family afloat and giving my daughters, the lifestyle they live now. Like, my eldest is a national level gymnast, so she trains, 3 hours pretty much every day. My youngest, I'm trying hard to get her into kickboxing so I can at least have one. Because I got 2
How's that
girls.
going? What's the uptake like?
She's 2. She likes to hit, but
Early days yet.
yeah, I'm trying hard.
And a perspective I'm interested to get. One of my favorite things about kind of making this podcast and having so many conversations with fascinating people such as yourself is I think in Thai boxing, it's just one of those cruel things that it generally doesn't pay the bills. So all of these high level fighters really do have oftentimes quite rich non-sporting lives, which is definitely your case. I'm always interested to get a feeling. I mean, if you have any perspectives of this kind about what that kind of high pressure scenario that your work with the Navy was, like you mentioned, these are, life or death decisions for yourself and a team of people. Do you feel that kind of helped you with your sporting career? Was that something that you think kind of helped with your mentality, helped with the mindset behind it? How do you feel the two work together?
I feel like they both brought each other up, if you know what I mean. Like a lot
Okay.
of my training, I overtrained my whole career. And I overtrained not just because I thought I was getting more skilled. I overtrained because I wanted to push my mind to that point where I had no more. And then I
Yep.
pushed it that little bit more. And then I find this new level. And my whole career, I sat in that. So the time I had in the gym with Dave was the time where I finesse what he picks up. And then whatever he picks up on is what I work on the next day when I'm not with him.
Yep.
So, if I train 2.5, 3 hours with Dave, I'd put that again the next morning in. So, I'd be doing 6, 7 hours a day on top of work.
Yeah.
So sitting in my mind that whole time and just trying to push my mind to breaking point, I think has helped heaps in work as well. Like, when these scenarios come, like we train so much so we're reactive instead of thinking. So, I've done this scenario 1,000 times. I don't have to think. I don't have to let emotion get in that, what are the chances of if this doesn't happen? I just react and do what I have to do. And that side of mental training in work is also pushed into fighting, like we drill so much to be reactive that, all right, I've blocked, I throw this combo, like all reactive stuff instead of trying to just sit and pick apart and react after the scenarios happened.
Yeah.
So I think work did the same as what kickboxing did for work. So kickboxing started my mentality into work because when I was junior, I didn't think about this sort of thing too much. I was reactive, but I didn't think that what would happen if I didn't perform this task? What would happen if I'm not able to fix this?
Yeah.
Because even small things like, we have a flood, we're taking on water. The deeper we get, the faster that water comes in with pressure. So you've got a small amount of time to react before you hit a point of no return. Like you're too heavy to get back up. Your pumps can't keep up with the pressure of water coming in. But again, I think in this job, like same as Muay Thai, like if you kind of you see a lot of people that mentally beat themselves before they're already in the ring and they've lost because they're going through all these scenarios through their head, like all the what ifs, like what if this happens? What if I get cut? What if I get hurt? Like, I think early on in my career, in work career, I realized, like if it's going to happen, like it's going to happen. I can't change the result at that point, like these things, like kind of are a semi-death trap. Like if I accept that, if these scenarios happen, I can die. Well, then it's easier to react than in the time thinking, what if I'm going to die? So I accepted long ago that, that's a possibility.
Yeah. And I mean, I know no scenarios firsthand of that kind of pressure of what's going on in a submarine. But I like looking at it from a specifically, like a sporting and a Thai boxing lens. I think you touch on something very interesting that I've thought a lot about, that when you are running through scenarios in your head, and it is especially early career, something you see people defeat themselves with, of those what ifs of like, what if I get cut, or what if I get knocked out, or what if I get like, I think and I'm interested to hear your thoughts. This is something an idea I've come to, is that I think in terms of a danger response, like a defense, the more you think the what ifs through, the more you kind of invite them on, because you kind of, when you're in your head going, I'm going to get cut and I'm going to have to do this and this and this, that's you making a plan and thus making that the course of action.
Yeah.
Rather than, and I think a huge part of fighting is acceptance. Like I really feel like where you start to find your sort of, I don't know if it's your flow or your, like, I think you go up a level when you learn to be able to kind of like come into a fight, like what will be, will be. And that can be a scary thought, but it's like you have to trust in your training that you can deal with situations that come to you, but in the end it might not be perfect. But that's kind of like, I think for me, I always think of it like, instead of being right before the moment, like what if this happens, what if that happens, what if that happens, every day in preparation, be stamping out, this is what I'm going to do if that happens. And then you can just come there like, you know what, I planned for as many scenarios as I possibly could, and now what will be, will be.
Yeah. I think it's too, it's like, it's teaching the people during their prep up to it, like that, nerves help you in a fight.
Yeah.
Nerves, as soon as you don't have nerves, you need to question if you still should be fighting, because either you're that confident in yourself that nerves help keep me safe. Nerves help me keep thinking. Not that it's overcoming me, but just enough that, like my first fight to my last fight, my nerves never changed. They were the exact same as my first fight. But it helped me be ready.
I think my nerves have got worse.
Yeah.
Right, because the first fight I didn't know what to expect. It was
you have no idea
nervousness
what to
of the
expect.
unknown. Yeah.
Even getting rocked down, like you don't know that your body's gonna be on fire. Like every part of your body's on fire right now. Like.
And that feeling of like you just have this, and I also think everything that you go through, in hindsight, is worse. Like when you're competing and you're really tired, when you think back to that moment, it's infinitely worse than it actually felt at the time. And you've built this up, and then you're like, I've got to go back there. And then like, so that level of kind of, and the other side of it is, I think when you start competing, you don't really know anything about the other side. And then as you get more experience, you're like, you know who you're fighting, you've watched them fight before. They become a monster, and kind of, they've got a scary highlight reel, and that's something else that you've got to contend with too. Like there are far more knowns that you can like really look at and get scared of.
I think it's tailoring your mindset too, like if you're picturing all these what ifs, you're not thinking about your own game plan. But if you start picturing, like, well, not the what ifs, I've done 1,000 kilometers leading up to this of road work, I've done, every single night, 10 rounds on the bag, 5 rounds with my coach, you start adding that up for 4 months, however long your fight camp is. And you start actually putting the numbers in, like, I've done over 5,000 push-ups. I've done over 10,000 sit-ups. Like, how am I not ready for this? You know, how is my body like? Why do I need to question this side? Like, you know, I've done all the work I can, which is like what really annoys me these days. Work and kickboxing is a lot of this new generation of people coming through don't put in the yards. Like, work's a big one for me. Like, such entitled kids that look at my position and be like, all right, I want to be you today. Well, you can't, mate. I've put in 12 years of study. Like, I hate school, and I picked a job where I've studied the last 12 years to get where I am. Like, wasn't the smartest move I've ever made. But like, you know, like small things, and it goes back into like kickboxing. Like, one of our shitter pumps at work will bust. So I'll pick one of the guys that's never done it. I'll be all right, we're going to change this out, and I'll be helping him. Like, in my position, I'm not meant to get on the tools, but I hate not getting on the tools.
Yeah.
But he'll question me. He's like, why are you punishing me? Why are you making me do this task? But what he doesn't understand is I'm not just making him change out this shitter pump where he'll get, I don't know, like feces and stuff on his hands. Like, I'm making you change this out. So, one, you understand what the internals of this pump is. Two, you understand how it works and what to look for. So now you better understand the system that if we have a major defect, well, you can start narrowing it down because you understand that, all right, well, the pressure's coming from this side. So if I've got no flow here, it's this side. All right, well, if I can hear flow through, but nothing's coming through, well, I know that the impeller's turning. So you can start like, I'm not just getting you to change out a shitter pump for the sake of it or because you're my lowest denominator. I'm upskilling you in a way that you're getting hands-on experience into this whole system now. It's the same as when you're doing pads with people and you just start trying to change their mindset of, right, well, you're teeping this way. Why don't you try it a bit more like this? Okay, it's opening up your hips more. It's giving you more power on that front leg for half the effort. But then they'll question it, or like little things like road work. Because of sports science, and I understand sports science, but a lot of kids don't do road work now. But for me, like, road work isn't just about the fitness. Road work is you by yourself in your head for that time. So, you know, you're tired and it's you out on the road by yourself, which is what you are in the ring. Like, you're sitting in your head, you're tired, you're sore, and you've got to mentally keep on pushing. So these things, that these tasks that you think aren't assisting you, it might not be assisting your athletic ability, but it's pushing your mental boundary as well. I'm getting you to do tasks you don't want to do.
It might be a piece of the wider picture more than it's like, because that is an interesting one, and I guess let me just before I get too sidetracked as I do, how for you does kind of like bringing up like sort of a lower ranking person in that side of your life compare, because you touched on it a little bit, compare to bringing up sort of a new keen fighter? Do you find in those positions where like you're coaching versus you're teaching on the job, do you see similarities a lot?
For me, it's
just
the
how
exact
people
same.
learn? Yeah,
for me, it's the exact same. And it's the exact same in that if I've got an older person, they are so much more willing to learn. They're so much willing to take on board the experience you have. Because also, too, I'm not just teaching him from a book. I'm teaching him from 12 years experience, from 8 years of doing that task myself. You know what I mean? Like, it's the same as like that saying, you know, like you'll pay a dude $500 to tap a motor with a hammer. And you question, why am I paying you $500 to hit this motor with a hammer? Well, you're not. You're paying him like $2 to hit it with the hammer, and you're paying him $498 for his 20 years experience, which learned where to hit that spot with the hammer. You know what I mean? Like, it's the same thing. Like, so bringing up people in work, because we're such a tight-knit group, or in the gym, we're quite a small family gym. It's the same mentality for me, you know? Like, I'm trying to build your stepping stones so you can excel. Like, all we want for you is to be the best you and the best version of you that we can help you bring out.
Yeah, definitely. And do you feel like, I mean, these, I guess in the past, when, you know, in years gone by, whether it was coming up through the Navy or it was pursuing your fight career, like your sort of only source of information was the person you had chosen to teach you. Whereas today, everyone's kind of coming in with, like you said, the roadwork one's a good example. So there's a lot, everyone can cite a YouTube video where some sports scientist says, you don't have to go running, and they say, well, I don't need to do this. And it's like, do you feel like kind of the abundance of information sort of, I wouldn't say maybe whether it's like, I guess gives people their own, allows people to kind of, leans into confirmation bias a little bit. If people want to feel a certain way about doing something, they can go and find an alternate perspective rather than kind of respecting that hierarchy. Yeah, that's a good way to word it.
It gives people an exit. So if my coach said to me, all right, you can do a 5K run or you can't, it's up to you. So, it's giving you a choice. Well, I'm tired, I'm not going to do it. But like, for the people that I feel like will excel and really want it, like the sponges, I'll be like, my coach said 5K, well, I'm doing 5. Like
maybe that's a test,
Yeah, like I was saying, Dave doesn't say too much. Like, it took my whole fight career till I really got a hug out of him in a fight, like every fight I'll be like, are you happy? He's like, well, you won. Like, like he doesn't say too much. Like, he's a very straight and narrow dude, but doesn't give too much of that emotional side for it. Like, I think when I took a Aussie title, he gave me like a big hug, and that was like a huge moment for me, like, whoa. But yeah, I think just a lot of these kids too, just, it gives them an easy out because, like, sports science says this. Well, sports scientists aren't getting in the ring either. Like, it's not just your physical side, and that's all they're addressing. Like, that anyone can get fit. Anyone can get fit and step in the ring. That's the easy part. The hard part's your mental side, which will determine, how far you can push, how much you're willing to get hurt and keep on going before you'll stop.
Yeah. Yeah, and at the end of the day, right, there's just value in letting go of that control a little bit and just trusting that
it's not trusting your coaches and your process, like if you look at Dave, Max McVicker's his son, look at his fight career. Neve that came over used to train under Dave, that she's got like 5 or 6 world titles and a beast, like, I was lucky enough that I got to corner with Dave with her, and just phenomenal to watch. Bryony, an up-and-comer, she's only had maybe 2 years in the ring.
She'll be listening. She's an avid listener. I got to meet her last week. It was great to meet her. It was great to meet her in person finally.
She's a character.
She's a great supporter of the show. We're big fans around here.
Yeah, but no, she's a big sponge, which is why she's gone so far. So you look at the process of all the established fighters he's had through. Most of his fighters were top class Perth level fighters or higher. So these young kids come through, and it's any gym. Like the coach is there for a reason. He started the gym for a reason. People are there for a reason. You've got to trust that he knows what he's doing with you. So he might be getting you to do that road work because you need that mental toughness.
Yeah.
Look at every professional sports team or individual player. Every single one is a mind coach. Because they're tapping into all these extra 1% that'll get you across the line or get you that gold medal or that number one position in a competition.
Yeah, definitely. And I guess it comes down to as well, like if it was as simple as just getting fit enough to fight, we would all do the same. Every fighter would do the same thing every day. We would have just found the formula now. But that's not the way that it goes. Elite trainers, camps train differently. Like one star fighter didn't do the same work as absolutely everybody else. They did the things that set them apart. But still people, I know it's interesting to see. I've seen many, many new fighters start and come through, and it's amazing to me how many of them are, for me, I mean, like, I'm sounding like an old man. Back in my day, it's just a different person to person mentality in that, like, I always just did what I was told. And I think for me, that's starting quite young. I was in my my teens. So it's that you're still in that kind of school kid mentality of like, you just do what your teacher tells you to do.
Yeah.
And I see now people are getting into it and, the trainer told me to go for a run, but I don't want to because this and it. It's not optional.
Yeah.
Like, to me, my trainer telling me to do it was enough to tell me that's what I need to do. It's not like my trainer tells me to do something and I'm like, well, is that the best thing?
Yeah. It's when these kids think they know the process more than
Yeah.
the coach. Like, well, I watched YouTube last night and this dude doesn't run. All right, well, yeah, but he sits on the roller for, 15K before training every session. Like, they do these other things to fill in that.
Yeah, it's not that simple, and you don't intricately understand every single.
No.
But you
like,
couldn't possibly
same
from
as-
a 2-minute YouTube video.
Yeah, it's the same as weight cutting. Like,
Yeah.
my process for weight cutting won't work for the next person. My body's completely different. And it took, however many fights for me to learn the process and what my body reacts to and doesn't react to. Some people love saunas, like some people like bath cutting. Like, again, it differs person to person. Like,
Yeah, that's one I've been having conversations about recently with newer fighters because, like, I help the guys as much as I can, but to me that's a very high pressure question to ask because I can tell you what's worked for me, but I would never ever pretend that I have an intricate. It's a very layered kind of science, and if you
100%, like,
I've
I know
made
what
weight
my
many,
body
many
reacts
times.
to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've made weight many times, but I don't know what will work for you. Because it's worked for me doesn't necessarily mean that's your process.
Yeah, I've never missed weight, but that's because I've understood my body because I started here and came down till I found that weight class where it was perfect for me. I didn't, first fight cut to here. Like, I try and tell all our amateurs coming through, you need to start the process. You don't just become a professional. Like, you need to suss out how your body works. First fight at 80. Next fight, if 80 was easy, go 77, 78. And we'll hit a point where your body fights back and you're like, I can't shred like I was before.
You're like, okay, that's enough. That's my limit.
Yeah,
yeah.
It's where, after that 24 hours where I rehydrate, I'm 100% again. If I'm 80%, well, I'm pushing the boundary too much now because my body isn't going back to 100%. I'm not performing at my peak. I'm performing.
I'm finding that point of diminishing returns.
Yeah. So again, it's a process that you could only go through yourself. Someone can't tell you exactly how it's going to happen. They can assist you, yes, but
and it's something I do see a lot in kind of newer fighters is that, like, there's no magic bullet. Like, everyone wants to ask the question and just get the answer that does the work for them, but especially Thai boxing, I think it's such a long game. It's like you've just got to do it enough to know what works for you. And that I also think it's that, and it comes to that idea of the abundance of information that's around now, is I think people think they can skip steps, that it's like, you got to understand part of this process is fucking it up. Like, you never want to go into something like, oh, might fuck this up, but you got to be like, approach things intelligently, be pragmatic, plan things out, execute on your plans, and then understand that really a lot of the things that you're going to learn are going to be from fucking it up.
Yeah, it's like cheating on a test or like skim reading before a test. Like, sweet, I got like 60%, that's a pass. Well, not really. Like, in this game, like, 60% might mean that I got 2 cuts and, like, my arms are battered from taking kicks, like, I want 100%, like,
100%.
Like, this is what people don't realize. Like, they look at all these people, like these superstars, they're like, I want to be that guy. Well, that guy's done every 1% he can, like, and I love researching these people, like Tia Toomey, CrossFit. I think she just took the record. She got 5 straight in a row, like. David Goggins, Rich Roll, like a dude that got off the couch to running marathons. Like, I like researching what is different about these people because they are just general people. But the majority of them, it's that mindset of doing all these extra hard yards, which has put them to the top of their games. Like, everyone wants to be at the top of the game, but think rocking up to the gym and doing an hour and a half of training is going to get you there. Like, it's it's not what people see you do, it's what people don't see you do, which just
Mm.
separates you to the top. Like, and having that mentality is what's going to get you to the top. Now we're so
Yeah.
big on social media, Facebook, like, getting followers, people reacting to my reel of me hitting pads. Well, what it's doing is diminishing, oh, I don't know, diminishing that side of people, like that mental strength, like, oh, I only got 50 likes for this, can change your mood. Like,
Mm.
why does a social media account change my mood? Like,
Yeah. And that's like, when you look at all of the pieces of the puzzle that are effective preparation, it's very easy to make it look like it is very easy to achieve the illusion of doing the work. And I think the worst trap you can fall into is falling for your own illusion. That it's like, I have
yeah,
done the work, look at this. And where it's like, in
yeah,
your heart whether that work's done. And that's something that cannot be reflected in your social media presence. Like, you can scroll through someone's social media, and I think we've all known people like this, that if you looked at their Instagram, you'd be like, that is a world class athlete. That is someone that is checking every box, that's dotting every I, crossing every T. But when you're actually behind the curtain, they showed up and they did that 30-second Instagram video, and that was the bulk of their work for the day.
yeah, yeah,
Like,
yeah, yeah.
it's very easy
And
to craft an image.
yeah, and of that 30 minutes, 20 minutes was getting the perfect angle and having like
Yeah.
20 intakes and outs. I say this
Yeah.
with my daughter with her gymnastics, like when she competes, so she'll go to like nationals, that sort of thing. I don't care what you come at all. Like, I don't
Mm.
care. But all I want from you is to put in your best performance. Like,
Yeah.
that is all I care about. Placing doesn't matter because, it doesn't matter where you are on their scale, on my scale. As long as you put in your best effort, that's all I care about. Like,
Yeah.
and for me, what I'm setting you up for now, you are only going to be successful in the future if you can keep
Yeah.
that mindset. Like, you may think, oh, I got third, I got second, whatever. Like, well, no, but like these people that are getting in first place, they're not putting in their best effort because they're good. Like, they're naturally talented. That's easy. But if you can grind, you can keep on giving me your hardest performance every time. As soon as you catch their natural talent, you're going to destroy them because they don't
Yeah.
know how to grind. They don't know how
Yeah.
to put this effort in. From day one, everyone, you've tried to put your best effort in every event. Now that's a norm. Like, that's
Mm.
your normal. You don't have to try. That's your standard. So now
Yeah.
everything is higher than your standard.
Yeah. And that's an interesting one to touch on, is that, like, one thing I've thought about a lot also is I remember being in school and kind of like growing up. I'll never forget, like, I think one of the worst mentalities that's kind of like imparted on groups of kids, especially when you're young and you kind of want to be cool, is that it's like uncool to try your best. Like, that's one thing I will never forget about being in particular a school environment, that, like, if you were at some kind of sporting carnival, or it was like a drama performance,
Yeah,
or
yeah, yeah.
something, if someone was really going hard at, like, they were visibly doing everything they could to succeed, you'd look at them and be like, or like,
That's a
people
nerd.
would look at him and be like,
Yeah, yeah,
what
yeah.
a loser.
What are you doing?
Look at this idiot.
Yeah.
Putting
Look at
in
him
their
putting
best effort.
100% effort.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then, like, that's something I really remember, as like, I was so not conscious of it at the time, of just how toxic that is and how people never grow out of it, that
Yeah.
it is a gift to teach someone how to go all out at what they want. And that, like you say, it's not about the result. Like, if you're stepping up to do your cross country race or your discus throw or whatever it is, could be
Yeah,
anything.
yeah, yeah.
If you are fixated, in preparation and on the spot at doing your best, it doesn't really matter what the end result is, because you can take that and apply it anywhere. Even in academia,
Yeah.
right? Like, you'd see the one kid buried in his books, and everyone who's going to do worse than that kid. And it's a defense mechanism. It's a jealousy thing. We see
Yeah,
this
yeah, yeah.
now. Is that it's like, you look at, like, people want to look at that guy and know that he's going to do better than them. So just sort of make it uncool, like, nerd. Wherein really, like, he was doing it right. You're the
Yeah,
idiot.
he's the smart one. He's, he's going to be successful while, I get to like 30 and I'm like, man, I wish I was that guy. Like,
Yeah.
oof, 20 years back, if I just worked like him, I could have been.
Yeah, and I think that's like the realization that so many people go through, like in their adult lives, is trying to step back and like learn how to put in 100% effort, but also learn that, like, I think what that is, and I have thought about this a lot, is people are terrified. You'd rather put in no effort and get no result than put in
Yeah.
100%
And fail.
potentially 100% not be enough. That is
Yeah.
really confronting, and that's something I think combat sports is so good for. Is sometimes you went as hard as you possibly could in your training camp, and it wasn't enough, and that sucks.
Yeah. People
But
just
that
don't
makes you
like to
strong.
fail, but yeah,
Yeah.
failing is what gives you a new determination. Like
Yeah.
like in every high performing athlete, any high performing business person, you need adversity or slight adversity
Yeah.
to peak. If you have no adversity, well, you're not peaking. Like you can't get to that top by having an easy run. Easy runs don't give you that drive. Don't make you perform at your best.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and I say this to the guys. Like, I'll talk to the guys on the boat as well. Like, we need to train harder. Like in the drills we do, we need it more realistic because if I can push this adversity on you now, well, when the time comes, you're just going to react because you've been through this. This is normal. Like,
Yeah, and that's again like one of those parallels in that, like I sometimes think about, and I think most people that spend a lot of time in the gym understand, sometimes when you've got someone who's coming up to that first couple of fights level, as the more experienced person, you kind of have to have those days where you're like, I'm going to put it on this guy. Like it's his turn. You know what I mean? Like you're clinching, you're not trying to show him anything. You're just trying to show him the floor. You know,
it sounds bad. It sounds bad.
You're
trying to break him. But yeah. Oh man, I have this like fight with myself because I'm like, you know what?
I don't want to do it.
I see them guys. Yeah, I see these guys in the gym. I'm like, what a dick. But you know what? Like for me, I'm like, I need to push this guy. So when he's in his fight, it's easy. So, but like afterwards, like I'll drive home and I'll be like, fuck, I'm a knobhead. Like, man,
I hate it.
Honestly, I swept him like 15 times. Like, why? Like,
I see the value in it, and I remember being there as well. I think maybe that's one of the things that makes it easier. Is you're like, but I know sometimes people they're hitting that wall for the first time in like a training camp kind of setting, and like, you know how to train to your experience. When you're much more experienced than someone, you kind of dial it back a little bit and teach. But sometimes you just have to like, and I've had some recently that I think of where like I'm just dumping someone, and like I'm even like dumping, like picking them back up off the ground to dump them
and put it back there. yeah.
And it's like I don't like doing it, and like I don't explain it after either. I just shake hands and go because like I want you to feel like, oh shit, like that was really really challenging, because I see guys get better from these moments. And like what kills people in their early careers, or not necessarily, but what can, is the pressure. Like when you're in a ring and you're around all these people and your corner's shouting you and your opponent's corner's shouting him, that's what you can't model. Like that's what you have to get experience, that you can't buy it. There's not enough running you can do.
Or even just hearing your coach, like the biggest thing, like being able to even hear your corner in that fight. Like most people, they can't hear a single thing. Like just because, their fight or flight sensors come in and the first thing that goes is their hearing. Like my hearing is gone. Like I can't hear a thing. All my other senses are heightened. Well, I don't need to be able to hear. So they knock that one off. You know what I mean? Like,
and so I think what it is if I can see that you're getting to that point where like your body's kind of given up, you don't really want to train anymore, that's the best way I can mimic that degree of adversity. So when you're there in practice, it won't prepare you for it completely, but it'll give you a little bit of that backing of like, and I think you feel that when you're fighting, like, okay, I've kind of been here before. Like this is that level of exhaustion, and that kind of centers you and allows you to kind of get your wits back about you.
It's like trying to teach people, like if you could train the 5th round every round, like imagine how awesome you'll be. Like, you've trained your whole prep in the 5th round. Like you're not going to be tired. Like you've been here, you know what tired is. Like this isn't tired.
Yeah. And that's something I think about like our kind of training philosophy at Scissathon that I've always really liked, is like I don't know what fresh ears. Like, because it's like, show up, do like that initial part of training is just to like, and again, it's probably not the most scientific way to work on your skills, but it forces you, like, by the time I'm in pads with my trainer, my petrol light is on already. Because I've been put through the ringer a bit in just like something super.
But it's
like
also wanting it. Like,
up.
you know what I mean? It's also wanting it. People in their mind are like, man, I want this. I want to train hard. But like the effort you're putting in, that's not training hard. Like, you know, you watch, they're waiting for their pad rounds, they're on the bag, and they're coasting on the bag.
Touch, yeah.
Yeah, because, you know, I want all my energy for pad rounds. Well, like, that's not what we're getting out of you. Like,
That's
you need to put 100% like the whole time.
Yeah.
Like, if you're tired when you get to pads, again, it's like you're in the 5th round. Like, we're just going to push you through that. And that's
a really good one to bring up, is like, how do you put yourself in training in round 5? Because, and no one can make you do it. It comes from intent.
No, you can tell, like, you can tell them, like, the reasoning behind it. You can give them all the information they want. It's up to them how hard they push.
Yeah,
like,
absolutely.
And like I was saying, like, a lot of this young generation in what I do for work and in the gym really struggle with this mindset of, you know, like, no, I'm saving it for that pad round. Well,
don't save it.
How are you going to get better? How are you going to push any boundaries? Like, all you're going to sit at is here the whole time, because that's the effort you put in. You're not putting in any more, you're not putting in any less.
And that is like, if you're saving it, what are you going to be like going out into the fight and be like, I'm saving it for round 3, 4, 5?
Yeah.
Let's get away from it.
Yeah. First 2 rounds, no. I'm not going to put too much out.
Yeah, I'm just going to relax a little bit. And that's like, so my trainer.
He's gonna do the same. You know, he's just going to back off me for a bit.
Like, I've had some fights where like my problem's been starting too slow. And I remember at one point not that long ago, my fight was changed from 5 to 3 rounds, like just over the course of, there was an opponent change or something. And my trainer's taken me through pads, and like I was really kind of starting to, you know, you find your feet and really starting to go in the 3rd round. And we usually do like kind of 6 or 7 rounds when we're fighting. And after round 3, he said, go sit down. And I was like, a little bit like, I was kind of rolled up. So I was like, what? And he's like, yeah, go. You're out. And I was like, what do you mean? He goes, that's it. And I was like, what do you mean that's it? And he was like, you had 3 rounds. If you wanted to do more, you should have done more. And I was like, yeah. He's like, yeah, that's it. When the fight comes, you'll have 3 rounds. And if you got something you want to do in that 3 rounds, you got to do it. Goodbye. And I was like, fuck, I hate that makes sense.
It's like that light bulb moment, like, oh,
yeah. Like, it was just a reality check of like, look, see, that's what you got to pour everything into, and like, don't kind of, because I think we get in that mentality in training sometimes where we'll let ourselves like click in too late, and you'll find like your last couple of rounds of the training really good because you realize you had a little more left. Like, you start to you empty the tank at the end, and that's something I try to be really conscious of now, is like, when you, like, most training is like pour everything into the end of it. I make sure the tank is empty, but it's like, how much is in there when you start to empty it? You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's the same as like, I think you said you've done like a marathon off the cuff, doing these random things off the cuff to see, like, you know, how much can I do? Like, how much does it? And these, again, like these little 1%ers of wanting to push that boundary as much as you can is what makes people more successful in the things they do, because they're willing to push their body or their mind to that breaking point. So they've trained that time, or they've trained the whole time at that point.
And this is something that I've thought about a lot too. It's a very common expression, is you can't teach heart. And I agree, you can't teach it. There's no book on it.
Yeah.
But you can cultivate it.
100%. Because I didn't find fighting until I was like 26, 27. And I never had the mindset I have now until about that time. You know, before that, I was happy partying. I was happy coasting. Like, I was just happy dotting the I's, you know. I wasn't doing anything else. I was just crossing the T's and dotting the I's, doing that substantial amount of effort. Nothing higher, nothing less. It was until I started putting myself into training properly, put in small adversity, that I actually grew to like that feeling. Like, I actually grew to like, you know, what makes me tick. What can I push further? Like, You know, I was never naturally talented in this sport at all. But, you know, I put the hours in to get as good as the next person. And
Yeah.
like I said, I overtrained my whole career because when I went into the fight, like I was like, well, if this person's better than me, they're never going to be fitter. They haven't done the amount I've
Mm,
done. And I'll beat them round 3, 4, and 5, you know, like I'll tire them out.
yeah.
And
Like if it comes down to heart, I won't be beaten.
yeah, 100,
Yeah.
like, and that in work, it's been the exact same thing. Like, I've moved up quite, I'm quite junior in how long it's taken me to get to the positions. Like, every qualification I've met in, like, bare minimum time. And
Mhm.
to the point where I question, like I'd call my dad, like, listen, I'm thinking of delaying this next board because, like, I don't feel ready in myself. I don't feel that I hold the knowledge to hold that position. And then every time he'd tell me, like, well, if you're questioning it, then you do hold that. Because
Mm.
if you can hold yourself to that higher level of where you should be, well, you're already past that minimum line where you need to be. You know,
Yeah.
because the people that you're idolizing are at the top. Like these people that you're comparing yourself to have been in that position 10 years. Like, so if you're comparing yourself to them and you don't feel up to their level, well, you're already above the bare minimum level you need to be. You're probably above that halfway level because you can look at yourself and say whether you're at that level or not, and
Yeah.
your level is theirs.
Yeah. And one thing I wanted to get into as well, because we're talking on kind of challenging ourselves and kind of how you cultivate that mindset. Before we wrap up, I wanted to touch on post fighting. You've been a bit of a reality TV star. Tell me about Ninja Warrior.
Yeah, so I started applying for it, and I just kind of like it asked for so many details and big write ups, and I don't like talking myself up. I'm not that kind of person. I'm not built the way to put on paper praise myself.
Mm-hmm.
So I started and then I stopped. I'm like, this isn't me. So I stopped the application. And then the next day I got an email from one of the producers, asked if they could like Skype me. I was like, yeah, okay. So I Skyped him the next day. He just got chatting about Navy, like my lifestyle, career. He's like, all right, well, there's a couple of steps like the application process. How about we just skip you and you can go to like the live workouts, that thing. I was like, oh, okay. Never trained any, like I wasn't really into calisthenics at this point.
Mm-hmm.
I did a bit, but like I hadn't found rock climbing yet, anything like that. So I went to the workouts. I did all right. Like I think the end was like a minute of burpees. I was like, well, I got this. Like
Child's
this is
play.
burning. Yeah, stuff this hanging from like one was like hanging from a bar for a minute, and like dude, like again, rock climbers, gymnasts were killing me on that. But as
Yeah.
soon as we got to like the high cardio, I was like, oh,
Yeah.
I can excel here. And yeah, I got a position on the show, but I was fighting for an Australian title like 2 weeks before the show. So I was like, you know what, like this show is cool, but like Muay Thai has been my life. Like that's what I want to do. So I didn't train for the show at all. Like I did the fight. I think 2 days before, like I was weighing in, they come and film like my backstory. So I'm like drawn in the face. I'm like tired. They're wanting to film like training on the submarine. Like, I got no energy at all. Hello.
I guess.
Yeah, surprise guess.
Hey.
But yeah,
Alright.
so yeah, at that point, I'd done the fight and we filmed earlier because I was like, well, if I get cut, it's not really like a good branding for the Navy because Navy's big on like their promotion being a certain way. Like, you know, like I'm not to detriment them in any way. I was like, oh, I've got a cut up face, you know, busted eye, like doesn't really look that good. Do you want to go to mummy? You want to stay with me? Okay. You can be a part of the show.
We're a child-friendly show.
Yeah. So I ended up doing the fight. I won the fight. I did like 2 sessions of rock climbing. I was like, come on, man, at this point, I'll just wing it. So I got on the show. I think my heat, I was against like 3 or 4 grand finalists, majority of the semi-finalists from the year before. I think I got 12th, maybe, in my heat. I went to the semis and I was about 2 off the semi.
Yeah.
After that, like I hate losing at things. Like I really hate losing. So I started training like rock climbing. started getting more into my calisthenics because I was like, I'll go on the show again. Then the next year I had a huge deployment, so I was away for like 6-7 months. And then I had this little terror.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then again, like Ninja Warrior sent me an email saying that they've got this new TV show. Did I want to apply for it called Ultimate Tag? So I was like, oh, again, like I sat up. I think she was like a couple weeks old. So I'm up feeding her at like 2 a.m, just sitting on the couch, filling out this thing, sent it in. And then, yeah, they gave me a call. They're like, oh, yeah, like we want you to come on this Ultimate Tag show. And at this point, like, I'm tired from nights with her getting up, like helping my partner out just so she doesn't have to get up all the time.
Yeah.
So a week out from that, I was playing touch footy with the boat, and one of the dudes like ankle taps me, and I shoulder charge the ground, and I tear all like the main ligaments off my shoulder. So I think it's like 4 days till I fly out, and I get the scans, and I can't move my shoulder. I've got to go in for a shoulder reco. So I was like, you know what, like, screw it. I'll just wing it. Like, I won't tell them. I'll just tape my shoulder so no one can see it, and I'll wing it. Like, I can't really move it, but I haven't even Googled what this show's really about. So, you know,
That's a good way. This is a good way to do anything, I find.
We'll just go in and we'll just wing it. So I get over there, and first thing is all these shows you've got to do like a medical, and the medical is normally like a fitness test. So I start doing this fitness test, and they're like, all right, we've got to do push-ups. So I'm like, I've got my hand in a way that there's no weight. I've got this one in the center. So I have to do like single arm push-ups. But so as he looks at me, it looks like I've got the weight on this shoulder. And then as soon as he looks away, I'm just doing them. Yeah, I'm just doing them single armed. So I get on the show. I end up like, I come first in my heat. So I win my heat. I come first in my second heat. I come first in the semis. I'm now in the grand final, and I'm like one of the favourites to win the show. At this point, I can kind of move my arm. And, so I'm in the grand final. My family's over here, so I haven't seen my daughter in like 6 weeks. And she was like a newborn at this stage. So they surprised me, and they showed her up on the screen. And I'm not really like an emotional dude, but it just, I don't know, just kind of hit me. And, I got a bit emotional just before my grand final. And like I said, I'm super competitive, so I'm normally, just narrow focused. But I went into that not really focused at all, and I got tagged in like, 20 seconds or something in a course that was kind of suited to me as well.
Mm-hmm.
So, for winging it, I nearly won, I think, 300 grand.
300 grand would be nice.
Yeah. But so I got to film a couple of them, which was pretty cool.
That is cool. And okay, let's finish on a pretty broad question, because we've covered a lot of areas here, right? From naval experience, in-ring experience, to ultimate tag and Ninja Warrior. Across all of these pursuits, and you've obviously developed a very strong mindset. I can tell that's a priority for you just from kind of your reflections on it. Would you point to one overarching lesson from all that experience that you really think, carries over across all of these pursuits? Like kind of any particular sort of words that you live by?
Again, for me, it was just that, failing isn't bad, or like adversity isn't bad. Like if you're tired, like you're meant to feel tired, like you're meant to feel in these ways. So if you think you're at your wit's end, you've got nothing left. Well, there's like, I think it's like a 40% rule that the Navy SEALs live by.
I like this.
Yeah, where, like if you were tapping out, that's your mind tapping out. Your body's got 40% more. So you'll never hit that total tap out stage.
Because your body's designed to protect itself, right? Like
100%. Like your mind will quit before your body can.
Yeah.
So if you know that, like, what you're feeling is not death, like, well, you can keep on pushing and you can further yourself. It's like that when you go to a hospital, that stupid thing where they're like, rate your pain scale 1 to 10. And it always irritates me. I'm like, well, you know what, for me, like an 8 is like I'm passed out, I can't talk to you. Like a 7 is
dead.
like I'm at 100%. Where like people are like, no, this is a 10. What do you mean you're still talking? How can that be a 10? Like,
I think everyone just thinks that's going to impact what drugs they get.
Oh
So
man,
like, Ken, give me the fun stuff.
It irritates me because I'm like, well, you know what? Just check my heart rate, my blood pressure. My blood pressure's high, my heart rate's high. Well, it's probably because like I'm in intense pain. Like that really irritates me. That one. You're coming back. But yeah, so like for anyone, like I feel like they're so easy to quit. Like if you know that like what you're feeling is like 40% less than as far as you can push, well then you can only push further.
Absolutely. Well, look, that was an awesome chat, and I think there's heaps of sort of pieces of wisdom that young fighters can pick up on that one. Thanks very much for joining me. I really enjoyed that. I think the listeners will as well. Where can people find you? Follow on with your coaching, Ninja Warrior journey.
My exploits. Yeah, so on Instagram, I've got a account called Train Together, Stay Together. Or on like 3 Lines page. Brian is always tagging me in that as well. You can link us off that as well. But yeah, thanks for having me on the show for sure, man.
Perfect. And thank you, all the listeners, once again for joining us. Be sure to follow us on Facebook, Instagram, subscribe on YouTube, drop us a review on Spotify if you're going to give it 5 stars. And we will be back next week. We have another special guest lined up. Looking forward to speaking again. Of course, also my bout with Jonathan Ayulu for the WBC Super Welterweight national title is only 4 weeks away here in Sydney. Would love to see you there. Tickets are available online. Find me on Instagram for the link. We'll put it in the description too. Talk soon. Bye.